Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm AJ O'Neill. This is Beyond Code Live, and I'm continuing on with the blog project. We're working on being able to not just generate the drafts in the browser, but also being able to sync those between multiple computers and using GitHub Sign In to do that. So we're still on the API side of this, and then we'll move on to the front end portion perhaps tomorrow. But what I've got left to do right now, let me actually make this a little bit smaller again. We've got user creation on GitHub Sign In. So if there wasn't a user, then we create the user. We've got user. That's kind of what we've done. Now we need to, store drafts in some way and be able to associate those drafts with the user. And there's a couple of problems here. One of which, so one is I want things to be encrypted because I don't really want, I realize these are just documents, but I don't want to know what people are putting in their little blogs or drafts or whatever. It could be, I don't know, you could basically use this like notes just to sync things between a couple of computers. So there could be private keys, there could be, I don't know, but I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to have to deal with it. I don't want to have to see it. I don't want to be responsible for it. So I want the data to be encrypted. We also have this issue where we're generating the UUIDs client side, but we can't use client-side generated UUIDs because someone could maliciously pick a UUID that exists for another user, for example. And yeah, so we need these things to be conflict-free. So those are kind of the couple of problems that we potentially are going to encounter. And what I'm thinking of is doing this. Maybe I should actually make this bigger again. Oh, and by the way, I do have the chat open both on Twitch and on YouTube. So when I'm looking right here, I am looking at the chat. As always, if you like what you like, you get more of what you like. So if you do find that any of this is useful or helpful for you, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you think it sucks, thumbs down. And if you do want to subscribe, you can hit the little, the bell and select personalized notifications so you just get the code stuff, which is 95% or so of what I do on the channel. Anyway, let me see if I can, I guess, draw this out. It'd probably be easier. Let me go to Figma. I'm going to go to Figma for this. That way I can actually draw it out and kind of look at it for a second. So let's see if this will log us in here. Come on, let me in. Stop being so slow. Okay. And I should be able to open up. Where is Bliss? Here we go. Let's go ahead and open up Bliss. I don't need any of the existing assets in there, but just to keep things in the same place. Wow, really slow today. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. So I'll just move this out of the way. We'll start over. And maybe I don't even really need to do any of this. But it's easier for me to think this way. So we've got users. Whoa, let's zoom in a bit on that. Yeah, that's too small. Let's make that at least twice as big. At least 3 times this size. There we go, 3 times. Excellent. So we're going to have some number of users. But here's the thing. I do eventually want to find a way to monetize this. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. And so I want to have the concept of being able to share. And I don't know. For myself, I don't know if I'm going to want to collaborate with anybody or not. But let's say that maybe I will. Let me group these here. Let's call this users, sure. What, we got another rectangle over here. Where's the other rectangle? Rectangle over here. Let me just copy this one. So we're going to have the users, and we're going to have the posts and our drafts, as it were, which may turn into posts or articles or whatever. We're going to have, I might just call it articles. We'll see. We'll see where we go with it. It doesn't much matter what we name it right now. We can always change it later. But you might think, okay, well, a draft just belongs to a person, and that's the end of that. But in reality, just about everything that has permissions ends up having the idea of, say, a folder, and then you want to be able to share maybe a particular item, or maybe be able to share a group of items. And you want to give people certain permissions, read, write, whatever. So what I'm going to say is that there should be a drafts users, let's say. And this is essentially, I would almost call it a project instead. So let's say this is what we could call it. And now we need to make that small again. Let's go down to say, there's 12 there. Ooh, tiny. But essentially, I've got to plot this out a little bit to kind of think through it. I've got the idea roughly, but let me get to the words here. I'll get to them. We're going to have a relationship that is essentially project, as I think would be a good description for it. I think this is just a good pattern to follow, is don't ever tie anything directly to a user, because unless it's really, really, really certainly only ever going to be used on the user, you can add a small layer of indirection that's not too bad, and you can keep this kind of flat so you don't have performance penalties and things don't get really nasty. But we'll have a project. A project will have the association of the drafts. So maybe I should make this, oh, whoops, that's not what I want to do. And then say, let's see, there's read, write, execute, which is essentially you can read, you can edit, and you can deploy, let's say. Those are kind of your typical permissions. So for each record, I guess, let me think about this. What's the right way to represent this? So we've got a project. Let's say that a user can only have drafts through a project. So we actually have a project is let's say drafts and permissions. I don't know if this quite makes sense. I think this is going to make sense. We'll see. And then we'll have, whoops, what's happening there? Oh, everything's moving. I don't want these things to move. Let me just try to select this one. There we go. Okay. And we'll have essentially a group, or I don't know, maybe the right thing to call it would be permissions. But we're going to have, let's say we never access an item individually. We always put an item in a project. And then we always connect a project to a permission group. So my thought, because you can do this a couple different ways, and it can be more simple or more difficult. I'm trying to simplify along a certain direction that, to be honest, in the base case, maybe is, from the perspective of database joins, slightly less efficient, although I think you can kind of round it down. But a user would never have a draft. A group must have a project. Let's say drafts groups. Let's say we want to do it this way. This is not the right tool for the job, but it's helping me think through it nonetheless. And then a group is basically, what's the right way to look at this? So this is basically users projects. And my thought is that a user should belong, just like in Unix, a user should belong to a group that is the same ID as the user. So every time you create a user, you create a group for that user. And everything that that user works on belongs to their main project. So anytime I add a draft to a project. And if the user's group is the same as the user's ID, let's say that we just guarantee that user's group is the user's ID. And let's say that the user's project ID is also the user's ID. Then anytime the user does something, what we can do is we can kind of shortcut and we can get the efficiency we want by going directly to adding, basically putting the user ID on the draft. And if you're not familiar with databases, then you may not quite understand what I'm saying. But if you are, then I think you get where I'm going with this. Let's see if we can. I think it'll be better if I just get to code soon. Whoa! That's not what I wanted to do. I think that'll actually end up being faster to work with than this. This is definitely not the right tool. But we could say a group has a certain level of access to a project, and a project has some number of things that belong to it. Yeah, so maybe, I don't think I'm quite calling that right. But the project has, say, project ID and article ID. We're going to call this article ID. We're going to call these articles. I'm digging that. I don't know if digging's really the right word. That's not a word I use. Forget I said that. I'm digging nothing. Okay. And articles have whatever it is they have. I'm not really sure yet what they have, but they have something or other. Oops. Okay, and then I have been calling everything plural. I kind of regret that. I kind of want to go back to singular. But I'm not going to change it now in the database. I'm going to keep going forward and leave that as a potential refactoring step. So we've got groups, and a group, let's see. What defines a group, it really is a set of permissions, right? I got to think about this just a little bit. Am I putting this in the right order? Maybe I shouldn't think of it as in terms of group. What this is it has a user ID and a project ID is what that has. So it's users, projects, and projects are just a group for an article. This is where the permissions are. And it should say what, yeah, this is a permission. So read, write, execute. I don't think group is the right word for this. It can, I think what I wanted to say is it can function as a group or multiple rows. How to say this? If I have a project that, let's say we think about Dropbox or a folder on a file system. If I have the project that's the folder. Maybe I should also call that folder. It contains a bunch of different items. And if I wanted to share a single item, I would create a project for that singular item. Yes. So I could repeat the project ID as many times as I want with as many articles as I want. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So a project could have as few as one article. So in that case, I think I want to make these rules. Let's see if I can make these rules. If the project ID equals user ID, that we could say this simulates direct ownership. And I want to move this, there we go, like so. Not the right tool for the job. Okay, but 2, I actually want that to be 2. Thank you. No, I want, whatever. See if I can get this to work this way. There we go. So if the project ID is article ID, simulates direct share. Yeah, that should work. And then over here, we're going to have some similar rules for the groups. Whoops. Which this is where the permissions, the groups is not the right term. This is permissions. And so as far as we could pull this all the way across. Do we need a specific ID for this? Yes, we do. We do need a specific ID for the permission itself. So that's okay. So let's call this PID for permission ID. Perm ID. Yeah. Let's see what we get here. And this is something I will probably be implementing tomorrow regardless. Okay, so we've got our perm ID, our user ID, and our project ID. And some sort of indicator of bits of permission. And so we would, if we end up sharing things between multiple users, then the bits of permission will come into effect. But I don't need to worry about those now. I just kind of want to have them laid out. I've thought about this a bit before, and I think this is how it ends up playing out. So if the, let's see, if the user ID is equal to the project ID, yeah, I guess we're saying the same thing here. So we can assume, we could assume that an owner has all permissions. So we wouldn't actually need to check the permission table. Yeah. So I think I've come up with a scheme where it's flat, it's consistent. It will work for teams and groups, but it won't lose efficiency for individual users, because we could still query directly on articles to get the articles that are owned by a user when we're fetching. But when we write, we would write the article to the project table, and the project table would be related to the user has these particular permissions in the project. I'm trying to think Google Drive, Dropbox style. You can read, write, execute on a folder. That means you can read, write, execute on everything beneath it. But you can also have a very specific additional permission that goes to a particular file or a particular subfolder. And so that would be the idea that articles could have multiple projects. Yeah, I think I need to get into code to fully realize this, but I think this is essentially the way that it's going to work. So there's going to be two relations between a user and the articles, which seems, like I said, it seems a bit much, but you get to fold it away, because if a project ID is a user ID, then that is an owner and they have full permission. Yeah, that should work out. Okay. And then I don't know if there's anything else that we really need to say about this. And then when we do want to share something, so if I want to allow someone else access to a project, I do have to have some sort of logic to say, even if I go to save this thing to a project, if I'm the owner of it, then it should go into my bulk things that I own. Let's see. Should that or should this just be one table? Let me think about that for a second. User ID, a project ID, basically a folder name, a permission. What permission I have in that? No, it needs to have, I think this is the right level. Yeah, I kind of want to call this a team and a project. And let's say folder. I don't know if that's the right way to look at it. But yeah, I think that's the right way to look at it. It'll be flat. It'll be fairly consistent. There will hopefully be very few special rules. The one special rule that I don't need to worry about right now, but that I could in the future, is just joining across all of these. I could skip and just join directly. I just grab directly from articles. If project ID is article ID, it's the owner. That actually would work too for expanding this out later. Okay, all right. I'm good. I'm ready to move forward. So let's go here. By the way, do we have anybody joining in? Let's see. Well, hello and welcome. Feel free to tell me where you're from. What do you do? What's your interest in Node or Postgres or this project or this channel? And I'll be happy to do a little bit of side quest as well to answer things while I'm going through this. Okay. So there was something. What was I thinking? So a user should kind of have a team. So we should have a teams table. Okay. We'll because when I create a user, I want to create their team as well. And the team ID, yeah, I think that makes sense. And we can still have what amounts to an ACL. So I think I would do this the same way that it's done on a file system. If you right click on a file system and you say, share this with X, it's going to recursively go through every single file in every folder, and it's going to mark it with that permission. And then whenever you add something new to that file or folder, then by virtue of adding it to that project, as it were, it is going to get the permissions of that project, no matter how deeply nested it is. And I don't have to worry too much about nesting here, because the only level of nesting, the project would be the site that's being deployed to. So let's see about this. Let's do npx connects migrate. Is it make? Something like that? Connects make migrate. Which shell am I at right now? That's weird. It says I'm in bash, but I'm in fish. So whatever. Let me go back over here and look at my little cheat sheet. Because we had, yeah, migrate make. Okay, npx connects migrate make add permissions. Let's see, add team project permissions. This is a good idea. There we go. Oops, that's not what I wanted. All right, and then it should definitely be async here. And then what is this going to be? Let me go back to the user one real quick. And let's do, was it drop? Yeah. Except we don't want to drop those. So let's be really careful about that. Let me just go change those names first thing. So this would be, what is it? Teams and projects. So yeah, I think that's going to work out just fine. And then let's change this to teams. Use strict. And I'm gonna bring us in a little bit here. I'm kind of far back today. Ah, there we go. A little nicer. Okay. Got teams and projects. And I actually am going to go back to the user table again, and let's see what we got. Some references. And always make it deferred by default. So teams is going to reference the user ID. And then we're going to have, I think maybe we should have some Booleans. Ideally, we want to avoid table scans. So we want the bits. Columns can be wide, and this is fine because they actually take up very little space. So we should be able to do, say, Boolean read this would be really strange. I almost feel that read is not necessary, and in fact I think I am going to drop it, because by virtue that you have, well, that's not entirely true, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm just going to worry about read write exec. I don't know. Maybe I'll just put it in there for funsies. And then I'm not really sure. I feel like maybe I want to have some sort of comment or tag or something like that that goes with maybe the items. I mean, I think it would be reasonable to have multiple tags, but just some kind of way to help sort and group them. So maybe I'd call it primary tag. What should I call this? Items? Things? It's kind of a tough one. Hold on. What did I do? Okay, so we should have here UUID, and this should be user ID, and not nullable, and there's no default. Now this is actually maybe unimportant. You know, there's a balance between how much logic will end up going in the database versus how much logic will end up going into the code. And as this unfolds, we'll see. I mean, this is a small project, but this is a pattern that I want to experiment with and see how viable it is. I feel like it's the right way to go. This is a problem I've encountered a number of times. How do you relate users to teams, to projects, to items? Okay, note an items own project will have well, it's like an individual share of an item will have the items ID. And then here it would be the project when the project ID matches a user ID, the user is the owner. So this becomes kind of a convention type of deal. By the way, hello and welcome, and feel free to ask questions. Tell me where you're from, what your interest in Node and Postgres and all that is. Okay, so this needs to be a project ID. And then here, projects needs to have its own ID, but it needs to have a team ID. And so this, yeah, this should belong to projects, but then this should belong to teams. And maybe instead of calling these ID, maybe I actually want to call them FK. I'm thinking about doing that just to, because of the terminology of this, where there's an authentication system and ID gets thrown around a lot and ID is not particularly useful. I'm thinking that maybe I'll just call it FK. And I think that actually makes a lot of sense. And I might go back later and refactor the previous migration to be this way as well. And then instead of UUID, call it PK. I actually don't really want to do UUID. I kind of want it to be a string, but for right now, I'm just leaving as UUID because it's good enough. Oh, bless me. Okay, so let's see. And then this is the permissions table, but all permissions go through a team. And I suppose, yeah, I don't need to think about this too much for this particular project, but I'm just ruminating on it. There are times when we want to say that a person's role in the team, I guess there could be one more table that could be the permissions table, but that's not really necessary here because a person is on a team and the team has permissions, but they have permission in the team. Yeah, there's kind of some cascading there. I don't want to think about too much. I don't think there's a lot of value in thinking about it too much right now anyway. That's going to reference the project, and this is going to reference the team, and this is going to reference the user. But it seems that the project should actually go both ways. Should the project, all items belong to a project, but they can belong to one or more projects. So actually, I think we move this over here. Does that even make sense? So it's not the project FK, it's the item FK. And item FK is related to items.uuid. That makes sense. Yeah, because the item and I kind of want to do a cascade on this, so if I delete the item, then I should... Oh, wait, hold on. Something's not right here. There is one more layer of indirection on this. I'm not sure if I want to put that in, because an item can belong to a project, and an item can belong to one or more projects. No, in this particular case, that I'm actually for real doing an item. No, an item can belong to multiple projects. And an item can belong to multiple teams. Or a project can belong to multiple teams. What are we saying here? I'm not quite sure. I might be overthinking it a little. Might have to scale back a touch. Okay. We're looking at every user is on a team. Every user is on one or more teams. Every user has its own team. One or more. Every user belongs to one or more teams. At the very least, the user is on its own team. And then we say every item document belongs to one or more projects. The very least, it belongs to its owner's project. Every project has at least one item. Maybe not actually. But it would seem to make sense that a project cannot exist without an item. Well, let's see. No, we cannot say that. Every project belongs to it. Let's see. Can be accessed by at least one team. So we can't orphan a project. Yeah, I don't know. These things are hard to work through. It almost feels like there ought to be one more layer, but that seems quite superfluous. Okay, what do I want to do? I want to have an article belong to a project, and I want that project, well, potentially, how should I look at this? I want that project to be accessible. I want to be able to move articles between projects, because at first I just kind of want to start it with a project which is all my stuff. And then I might want to also add it to a project which is this site. Owners, all my stuff project. Right, and then we could have a site teams my site project. So the owner would be the owner of the site team. So an owner can invite others. Something like that. You can invite someone with up to your same level of permission. Yeah, I'm definitely overthinking this. It's good to recognize that. I can still do it. I want to overthink it a little bit. I want to explore the idea, but I am overthinking it. Okay. So a team So this is really Teams users is what this is. Because if we had any additional data about this, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is really the permissions table, which is Teams users. So Teams would also have a UUID. We'll see. I might be thinking about this wrong. This may not. It doesn't matter for this particular project, but there is some amount of, if I want to share a draft with someone else, because the reason I'm over engineering this is because I know that I want to have the article. I want to be able to say a site. Here's a site, and other people can contribute to this site. They can add items to this site. Yeah. Maybe I should just back the truck up a bit. Because I'm not going to create a nice generic system just sitting here before I go to bed tonight. But let's go ahead and say string 255 name And then what? Name could be anything. But as far as teams go, I think the team just has a name. And this really is permissions. What is this? What does this person... And I think create should actually be its own thing. And the permissions are going to be layered. So if I create something, I have the ability to read, write, whatever, that thing on the basis that I'm the one that created it. So I will have my own permission entry for that thing. And then there's also kind of a cruddy database. So is this projects teams users? Is that what this is? So this user belongs to this team in relation to this project, QRSTUV. Is that what this is supposed to look like? And then the project doesn't have to belong to a team. Project just needs to hold items. Is that about right? Maybe. So team is just a container for users. So maybe user moves over here. No? Okay, let's see. Teams. So having to think through it a little bit, but that's how these things go. So I think Teams users would have valuable information in it. Okay. All right, so what's the point of this? This is truly the team. So this would be more like Teams data. And this would be more like Teams. No. I don't know how to say it because this is just the metadata about the team. It doesn't contain the membership. This is the membership table. And that says, hey, you can invite someone here. And maybe you're an owner here. And you can leave. So by default, you're not an owner. You can't invite others, but you can leave. Okay. And then we've got projects and items projects. So I don't know if, is there any information in projects itself? Let's see. Because this is going to be items projects, I think. This is the folder/group table. Maybe I should just call it files. I don't know. But this is definitely going to have a blob. What do we call it in blob? Or in connects? What's a blob? Blob. Let's see. Connects.js blob. Okay, this doesn't even make sense. Sometimes. Yeah, I don't think these are super large objects. Let's see. Connects. Maybe I should just do file storage. But these things are going to be small. I just want to stick them. Connects, text column. Yeah, I think these should, well, 64 kilobytes. I could think this could go over 64 kilobytes. Medium text. Let's see what they say about blob in here. Blob. Maybe I could let's get more specific here. Look for a blob column. Let me go back. Oh, no, I didn't mean to actually close that tab. I wanted to open it and search for the text type. Text. So where do we get the information about? Okay, here we are. Is this schema building? Integer, big integer, text, string, float, decimal, boolean, date, time, binary. Is that what we want? Let's see. I think we want binary, but I'm not sure. Or text. Text would do just fine. Medium text. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. Then I got to figure out how to decrypt it. What would be really nice is if GitHub had pairwise IDs, because then we could just use the pairwise ID, although I guess that wouldn't entirely work. There has to be something that's shared between the clients. But I don't know what this would be. All right. Anyway, we're going to need, for items, table.text, and we will call it data, and we will give it medium text. And I guess it could be, it's fine for it to be null, really. But I kind of want to make it not nullable and then just default to an empty string. I think that's actually fair. All right, so every item belongs to a project. So we've got items, projects, and then we would need project FK. I guess we could swappy do this. Let's see. Project, projects, bum ba dum ba dum ba dum ba dum. Okay, and then this one would bring it all together. This is the permission table. And this should tie together a project with obviously you're going to be able to see your team members. Okay. So this is, was it team users? Membership. Teams users. Is that what that is? It seems like individuals should also, so the team should have some sort of permission, but the individual should also have a permission on the project. So this is more like team permissions, but we should also have individual permissions. But each individual is their team. So an individual could be given access above what the team access has, which would be inviting their individual team to the project. So the team is what people have access to the project. Yeah, that's where it gets a little meta. Oh, sorry. I didn't see the comments coming in earlier. What does deferred do? So deferred makes it so that if you have a transaction and say that you need to add perhaps some things that are mutually dependent upon each other in terms of foreign key references and private key references, they can be inserted out of order, and the constraints are validated after or at the completion of the transaction rather than per line item. So you can batch add 50 documents with a user ID, but maybe the user hasn't been added yet. And then you batch add 10 users, and then you batch add whatever. Okay. When in doubt, refuse the temptation to guess. I'm doing a really bad job at that one right now. I kind of want to add a tag here. Or a comment. I guess it might as well be nullable. I'm kind of like a, I don't know, parent team. Yeah, most of the stuff I should just get rid of. I'm just thinking through all of this. So ultimately, all I need to do right now is just have a way to associate a user with their articles, but I know that I'm going to want to have the ability to at least have groups of articles, say, that represent a site, and that if I have a site, I'm likely going to want to be able to share that site with collaborators. And so I'm just trying to think through if there's a decent way to do this that I can just do it from the start, where I am, as a user, kind of like the Unix file system permissions. When you create a user on Unix, you also create their default group at the same time, and they are the member of the default group, and their default group has the same ID that they have as a user, and that is kind of convenient. And I'm wondering if I can do the same kind of thing where we create a team and the team is the user, and I don't know what owner would mean in this particular case, but we want to know, can you invite people? Yeah, owner's not descriptive. Can you invite people? Can you kick people? And can you yourself leave? That's what a team should be. And then a permission, I should be able to create new articles in a project or a site. I should be able to read the articles. I should be able to update the articles. I should be able to delete the articles. And then I should be able to cause, say, the deploy process to kick off. I don't have any of these capabilities yet, so I'm thinking too far ahead and getting down the rabbit hole. And I kind of want to be able to say there's a parent team. I don't really have a good use for this. I think the things that are here are pretty decent, actually. Okay, I'm going to, let's see, where did it go? Yeah, I'm going to go put my daughter down for bed. That'll probably be 5 or 10 minutes. Well, probably more, like 15 minutes actually. What's your opinion on executing migrations within a single transaction? I don't know. Good idea. I don't know. I think Postgres schema changes as part of a transaction. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely can change schema. Yes, I've been able to change something from a UUID to a string or a string to a UUID or something like that. I've done some migration similar to that. Anyway, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to go put my daughter down to bed. And we're back. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so I was thinking about it. And the guiding principle needs to be, in the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. Which means that we are going to have teams users. That makes sense. Nothing ambiguous about either of these things. And then permissions. What is ambiguous here is whether or not it should, let's see, teams users. Yeah, well, let's see here. I think that the primary key of teams users, no, because this is the records. What is it? And it's not. We've got membership there, but that's not really where that belongs, is it? It really should be just a team and a team and a team. Let's see. This is where the temptation to guess comes in. Is should there be to do should allow for parent team FK or individual users user FK. The question is when an individual in the team should have more access, then do we say that that user's team is given more access, but it has basically a parent team? Meaning that visually, the question is visually, how do we represent it? If it was a UI showing a list of permissions, we're going to say, here's all the people on the team, and then here's the permissions that they have. The simplest way to do it would be to say that the default permissions that you get by virtue of being on the team are something. I don't know what that would be. That might be a team's permissions. That's just the default permissions. And then there would be actual permissions. And each individual, let's see, to do teams permissions as default. Here's to copy from. But then each individual member of the team. So the question is should this be user through a team, or should it be the team itself? And if it's user through a team, then I think there needs to be a team's permissions table to say what the team's default permission should be. So that every time I add a user here, I copy them in, and then I say what team did they come through. But at the present, I think the least assumptions would be to just say that we're bringing in a team, and we're bringing in that team with these permissions. So I guess that could be team's permissions. So it's permissions to use teams permissions as default perms to copy from for each member. Okay. Okay. And so then we're looking at, and then we could do the same thing the other way around, or we could have, yeah, items, projects, items that belong, I need to rework this. So we're going to have projects and items, and then items projects. It's kind of the way that it'll go. Yeah. It's a tough nut to crack. Age-old questions. So this is analogous to Teams users. But then there would be something. Yeah. So we could have something analogous where, okay, this could actually, there could actually be a big permissions table. Use Teams permissions and projects. Let's see. Permissions, projects. That would probably be the most generic way to go about it, as I'm thinking through. Let me see. We got any more comments, questions, anything coming in over here? Sorry, I'm taking my sweet time thinking through this. So recalculating permissions would happen at this level. So we could get as granular as, for each member of the team, we'd make sure that they have a record that models the team permissions. And we would take the highest level of permissions based on the team permissions and the individual permissions. Maybe we wouldn't need to duplicate. We would just run that twice. Anyway, I think this is good enough. I think this is the fewest number of fairly reasonable assumptions for mapping this all out. So if the project ID is the user ID, then that's all the stuff that the user owns. All right, so what are we saying that we have to reference here? Items have to belong to a project. A project doesn't have to belong to anything. Project may belong to permissions, and a team may belong to permissions. A team doesn't have to belong to anything. Users don't have to belong to anything. Oh, wait, what do we do down here? Items don't have to belong to anything. But a project has to belong to an item. Oh, no. Blah, 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 blah. All right, I think I got it figured out in my head at least. I think let's see. Every a user belongs to one or more teams. Every item belongs to one or more projects. And may belong to its own single project. Its own project as a singleton. Every project can be accessed by at least one team. So projects are not independent, or should not be independent. And the project should have a name just like the team should have a name. And the item should have a name. Yeah, item doesn't need a name, actually. But I'd say a project does need a name. Okay, so I think it's striking the right balance between normalization and denormalization here. Okay, cool. Well, maybe spent too long on that. We'll see. But let's go ahead and see if we can npx connects migrate latest. What errors do we face? Relation projects does not exist. Well, of course. Okay, teams, users, projects, items, let's see, items, projects, teams, users, teams, permissions. I guess we could just call that teams projects. Okay, is this all correct? That looks correct. Is this correct? Looks correct. Is this correct? Looks correct. Is this correct? Maybe. Call it teams permissions. This is teams projects. Okay, there's projects. And then we go back up here, teams, users, teams and users. I go back here. Okay, let's try migrating this again. Teams, projects, project FK foreign key, project FK references, projects UID, relation projects does not exist. So let's go here, projects. All right, so this has, should have paid more attention. Okay, teams, projects. Oh, yes, I need to create these in the correct order, of course. So let's first create items, and then projects, and then teams. And then let's go through the relations on them. We shall do it this way. and this way shall work. Items, articles, projects, folder, site, item group, teams, user group, teams, users, group membership, teams projects, permissions, and these have to, those already exist, these already exist, and then these already exist. So items, projects. Let's see, binder. Box, binder, shelf. So is that it? Is that all we have? I think that's all we have. All right, let me try this again. Can we migrate? Yes, we can. Can we roll back? Cool. Sweet. All right, so the next bit is what is the next bit? I guess we need to create an API for some data and start mustering those things in. Also, though, when we create the user, we need to create their team. So where's user.create? And then I guess we want let's see, an inner join, and let's try an outer join. With teams users with users dot ID onto teams users dot user ID. There we go. Identifiers dot identifier. All right, let's see if we can do this. And then when we find the user, if not user.teamID, then user.teamID equals user.id or UUID. Let's see. We got anybody joining in? Checking over here for the comments. Create own team. And then we need to await user dot create team user. Could have a team dot create. Wait, maybe it should be here at the find. Okay. Let's think about this for a second. And this also really should be a transaction because I need these two things to succeed simultaneously. All right, so So the team has to exist first, and then the team's users has to exist next. So it would be fine for every ID in this chain to be the user ID, and then the permissions that we want to have leave would be false. Kick would be false. Oops. And invite would be false. I think that would be right. Let's go take a look at this again. We have kick, invite, leave, invite, kick, leave. Yeah. Okay. That'll do. So this should work all on its own. Let's see if we just run this. Not quite. Where does it break down? Syntax error near outer. So I think we have to take that whole thing and then outer join that. How do we do subqueries? Subquery. And where? Okay, so what do we do here? Select ID. No. Okay, from. Let's see how we could do this. However, aliasing a subquery. Let's see, from. I wonder. What if we just did as? What would this be? All of this is you. Join u.id like that. Would that work maybe? My join foo is not Radonka strong. Okay, select this from see. Let's see. What have we got going on here? And then, what is it? Connects dot from SQL. Is this right? Outer join. Boop a doop doop. Select. So what do you do? Dot as you. Select u dot star from SQL. And then this one, maybe? Team users dot team ID. I don't know what I'm doing. I think this should work. Nope. Okay. From do. Maybe Postgres. Maybe it doesn't call it outer join. Maybe it calls it right join. Full outer join. I don't know if that's what I want. Let's see. me try running this. No, still doesn't work. Column u.id does not exist. All right, that's a lot better. All right, what are we up to now? Column teams user.user ID does not exist. Well, it should. That one I feel pretty confident about. Let's see, teams, users, team FK. Oh, I renamed it all to FK, right. Well, that made a lot of sense, actually. Because that makes it less ambiguous. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's see, ID FK. That one's right. Okay. What do we got this time? Column issuer does not exist. Did I ask for issuer? Let's check on that. I actually don't think I... Oh. Okay. Identifiers dot issuer. I don't know if this is going to work out the way I was hoping. It's getting mighty complex. Mighty fast. Let's see, I may need to do this one here. There we go. Let's see how that one works out. That's going to be fun. Oh, and I didn't even do... I forgot to add in all the times things. So timestamps. And then the revoked at. Ugh. Oh, that's going to be obnoxious. All right, so we want to remove some items from a project. I definitely think we're going to have to use an event log for this to be enterprisey. Guess I don't need that right now. Let's see. Oh my. Ugh, which means that these queries have to get rather nasty. Let's see here, where team users revoked that is null. Actually, we don't need that one in this particular case because it's the user's own, like they can't get revoked because it's, oh, hold on, oh, I see somebody just joined in, so I'll welcome you in just a second, but it's not going to be possible for the user's own team to get revoked. I can't get revoked from my own group. I can't kick myself out of my own group. I can't be kicked out of my own group. My own group is synonymous with myself. So that one we don't have to worry about. Okay, so hello, welcome. Tell me where you're from. What are you doing? What's your interest in Node or Postgres or this project or the channel? What do you primarily program in? You know, all that introductory stuff. And how's your SQL foo? That's the other thing we really need to get strong on here. Okay. What's wrong this time? Team ID. I think that's because it's supposed to be Team FK. I was in the middle of switching these things over. There we go. So I got my own team. All right, what do we got here? Insert into teams, duplicate key value violates. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how that could be. Let's just roll on back and roll back forward. Oh, cool. That worked. How unexpected. Cool beans, cool beans. So then if I run this again, I should just get my user. Yeah, all right, cool, cool, cool. And then let's see, PSQL. And then let's select star from teams users and see what we get. Should get one row, yep. And then from teams, we should also get one row. All right, cool, looking good. Looking good. Alrighty. Oh. Okay, with all of that. Yeah, I definitely think the Teams user thing, I should bring that on over. I'm going to do a rollback here. And then I'm going to take some of this stuff from here. So I'm going to take teams and teams users. How should I do this? Yeah. I want to take this one and just kind of move it out into its own bit. See, teams users. Not worried about teams projects, but I am worried about teams users. So let's take this one and let's, rewind the clock a little bit here. Say 59, 59, 01. Sure. And then we'll say add team. And then I'm going to go back over here. And then let's not drop these here, but rather we'll drop them over there. And then we'll pop this up here. There we go. All right, now let's see, what if we roll this forward? Add teams. There we go. Up. Cool. Cool, cool. Let's see. Okay, I think this is going to work out. What's the difference between those two? Oh, okay. Just the as you. I don't know if the as you is even necessary. But sure, why not? All right, so here we have feature. User. Each user will have its own team and team membership. We'll say like there we go. I like that. And now we got to figure out how to save stuff. We have to save the stuff. Where do I need to put this? So I do have, the front end already does request dummy data. So let's see if I could do it like this. All right, here it's requesting dummy, API dummy. Okay. So is it requesting dummy with the token? It is. All right. So I think we could say require user here. Let's create our little function require user. And if not rec.user dot sub, then throw, whoops, let's make this async, throw new error to do not authorized. Yeah, let's try that. And then we should be able to use user dot articles. I guess we don't need any of that yet. So let's do let user equals require lib user.js. I think that's what it is. And so we'd want to do items equals user.items rec.user.sub. Something like this. But now we actually have to have a lib user. We need to have items in lib user. So let's see. Oh, that doesn't look right. That should probably be sub. Git commit fix up sub typo. Okay. All right. So let's say user.items is an async function, and it's going to take in just a user ID maybe. And it's going to grab I think there should be some sort of let's say limit is equal to 100, offset is equal to 0. And items.star where items projects where projects dot user fk user ID. No, it wouldn't be user FK. This would be okay. So we're gonna take items.uuid. Hold on. This is looking at items, projects. Wait. So we're going to join items on items projects where items.uuid is project da 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 da. Okay, that's fine. And we're going to do this where items projects dot project fk so get all the listings where the project fk is the same as the user ID. The user is the owner because the user's team and project are the user's ID. So everything that this user has created, when the user creates something, it should go into the user's main project, regardless of what other project it may go in. I think that's fair. Okay. And then, of course, we can do dot limit to limit and dot offset offset. I think this is right. Yeah, so I'm establishing a convention so that I can shortcut doing the joins for things for which the user is an owner. Yeah. That only makes my uncomfortable senses tingle just a tiny bit. Okay. So let's say I want the user to create an item. So we've got the user ID, and then we have, whoops, what the heck was that? We've got the item. Okay, so I think it's going to be something like this. So we're going to take an item, and then its UUID is going to be random. So let's say that the item ID is going to be random. And then the data is going to be item.data. But then we're going to have a to-do reject anything that's non-base 64, because then we know it's not encrypted if it's not base 64. There's nothing more efficient than that for text, for encoding, so it's got to be encoded. We won't really know. Oh, hello. Feel free to ask any questions, comments, whatever. And as always, if you like what you like, you get more of what you like. So if any of this is useful or interesting, let me know that way. And if you want to subscribe, just hit the bell for personalized notifications so you get the code stuff. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, so we created an item. We're rejecting things not base 64 because what we really want is for things to be encrypted client side. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out, especially between browsers. But we'll figure something here. And yeah, so I guess it's just data. Is that all we got here? But I do want to send back the item ID. Okay. And then we do have items projects. And I guess, this is another fun thing that we need to do. So where the user, all that big join we do here on the find, we need to add some more to this, I think. Let's say we as T. I think that's where this goes next. And then we need to do almost the exact same thing. Basically, we can just take t dot star there. That's fine. But we also need to do, is it Teams projects? Or items for Teams projects dot team fk. Let's see. Because I think what we need to do is we need to find out oh gosh. Let's see, from all of that, we're going to join Teams projects. Where this join doesn't make sense. But that's okay. Let me see, we got any comments over here? Okay. And I guess I could. Let's see, can I be... I can't be revoked from my own project. Let's see, where... Well, this is kind of a nasty sign-in join, but whatever. Where... Object FK, same as UUID. Okay. Huh. Why didn't I like that one? Oh, needs to be a colon, not a comma. You see? All right. So now that's getting kind of wild. Alrighty. Okay. I think we're pretty much going to copy this verbatim and make this into a project. I'm going to go into projects and insert the name to be the user nickname. And teams, projects, I'm going to insert team FK and project FK, and then it's going to be able to read and write and create. Did I call it? All right, I think I called it update. Update, going to be able to destroy. And then, what do we say? Was that the core of it? By the way, when I'm looking over here, it's because I'm checking to see if there's any comments. So I try to check frequently, so I don't miss you if you do comment. All right, so where are we at? Teams, projects, items, projects. All right. Let me make sure I got the permissions right on that. That's what I was going back in there for, right? Was to check, do we have create, read, update, destroy? Probably should have had, let's see, on Teams users, there probably should have been an admin. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. Let's see, to do set teams permissions. Whoever owns the project, who created the project? Huh. Yeah, the project needs like a created by or something. Because whoever created the project has to have the permissions. To add, to share items. Let's see. Seems like there needs to be a share. I'm going to leave that one alone for now. Not going to chase waterfalls. I'm going to stick to the rivers and streams that I'm used to. All right. I think that should still work, actually. Let's see. Well, it's getting a little complex there. I'm not surprised that it didn't work. Missing from clause entry for table U. Okay. From oh, this would be T. Two. Yeah, I don't know. See if it works. All right. For table teams project. Okay, wasn't that outer join teams project? Oh, teams projects. There we go. All right. Invalid input syntax for type UUID t.uuid. Huh. Okay, so t.uuid got misinterpreted somewhere as a literal. Oh, because I passed it in as a literal. That would make sense. So I think I want u.uuid user. Is that what we're looking for here? We have the user at this point. How do I go about this? Where so like that? Actually not quite sure what we're looking at here. Okay, select. Okay, where? Maybe connects.raw. Is that what I need? Let's see if this does it. Could not read property UUID of null. Wonderful. 38. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Ah. So let's see. Can we do this one? All right, let's see what we got here. Actually, I think what was there should have worked. But that's okay. I think I see how this might fail. We actually need to put in yet another join, because we need to join all the way. Huh. Is it maybe? No, maybe I can just do this. project FK. Maybe that's it. I don't need this one here. And let that be the full outer join. Tie the project foreign key to the UUID. Because if the project foreign key is the same as the user UUID, then the team UUID is also going to be the same. So we can make that assumption. Okay, I think that makes sense. Whoa, did that work? And then this time, just selects. Let's see, look at that. Team FK, project FK. Sweet. All right, so the user, the user's team, and the user's project are all the same. That's just great. That is great. Cool. That's sweet. That's way sweet. So first of all, let's look at what we did to the teams here. Nothing. I'll just call this fix up add DB comment on teams. Okay. And then what are we looking at? So require user, we don't have anything about that yet that we need to worry about. This one is now updated. That's updated. And this is updated. Now that items, the items in create item, I don't think we need those yet. So I'm actually going to move those out for the time being. Because what I do have that is tested is this little doodad right here. Well, let's go ahead and test it a little further. And then I'll call it a night. It does waxeth late. User.items. Bless me. Oh. I don't think that's right. So I think this is supposed to be project FK as user ID and item FK is going to be item ID. to do created by. Actually, that might be fair. Meh, whatever. Okay. Let's see if we can create an item. Item.data. Yeah. All right, so let's go down here and see if we're able to find the user. Was it user.uuid? Is that what we're looking at? Let me scroll back here in a bit. Can we see what that looks like? User.uuid. Okay, that's what we're going for. And then what do we want? Data is foodtastic. And then what? Items. Return item ID. All right, let's give this a shot. Probably won't work, but that's okay. Items projects does not exist. Invite. Let's see what does exist. Items projects. Huh. I guess that makes sense. I copied that over from the wrong place. That's good. Now, if I'm not mistaken, star from items, we should have one item in there. Good. So let's do delete from items. Get rid of it. And then, oh wow. The operator. Items, project items out of FK is not permitted. Okay, so let's go take a look at that. Item FK is not permitted as an operator. Inner join. Huh. Let's say about that. Not permitted as an operator. Oh, because I've got this user ID here. So I think what we need instead, yeah, is this where. So we're going to join items UU. Yeah. Yep, that looks a lot better. Okay, so let's say we don't create the item. Let's say we just run the query. Nice. Nice. Everything is as it should be. Okay, well, that's pretty awesome, I think. All right, today was a success then. Oh, let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at a message. Oh, a few messages. All right, so I think this is at a point where I could actually, yeah, let's just say I go and add it. If not items dot length, because this should always return at least empty. Then we do this and this. There we go. Now that looks nice. So I should be able to get the items back, decode them. So the encrypting, decrypting is all going to be on the browser side. The thing that I got to work through on the server side is basically just trying to find some way that I don't accept unencrypted data. Okay, so this is looking good right here. I like that. But I'm thinking part of what I'm trying to accomplish with this. Oh, and you know, I need to go look at that query again. Items. Where, let's go ahead and do this one. Like this, I think. Let's see. When I go to revoke an item from a project, sorry, I'm thinking. Items. Let me see what we've got for the revoke story here. Items, projects. Do we have revoked at? We do have revoked at. Okay, so we do want to find those. So I could remove it from myself. Let's see. So here we have a question to do. Should remove from self delete? Basically, okay, so if I have an item, but I remove that item from my own project, which is me, essentially, my account, if that is the only reference left to it, it should definitely get garbage collected at that point. So I can go check to see every time I remove it from anyone. I could go check to see, are there any references that are left to it? They're not revoked. If there are any references left to it, it stays. But if there are no references left to it, then it itself becomes deleted, it would seem. And that would make sense. So I would update its data to null. That's how I would delete it. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. Well, but I was going to say, so I'm going with this idea of I want to have this audit trail for data, just in general. This is not really necessary for this particular project, but just in general, this is something that I want, is to have an audit trail. The problem with leaving all of the data in the database is that's not really how SQL databases are designed. SQL databases are designed to be compacted. And a buddy of mine is really big into kind of event-based data. And what I think I want to do instead is to have a log that's semi-structured, where we can say there's certain events, such as shared. There's a shared event or an invited event. So rather than keeping all of these, basically treat the SQL database as the crystal copy, the most current version, and keep the event log as the audit trail and the permanent version. That way, excuse me, I get to use more of the benefits of SQL with fewer of the drawbacks. Anyway, I think that's where I want to head eventually. Reject large files over 100K. I need to figure out what the point is at which something has grown too long in terms of text size. Realistically, I think 64K should be more than enough. I should look through all of the blog articles that I've ever created and see if any of them surpass that. I don't think that they would. Yeah. So I probably don't even need medium text. Because let's see, what's, for example, the entire sh. That's not quite right. Libstar.js. So everything, all of the code in here is 24K, but that's not counting. Let me go see if I can find my blog here. Projects. No. Okay. So what is posts? So let's look at posts. And can we sort by size and see what's the largest size here? Oh, well, hello. Oh, you're just doing returning the power tools. Let's see. So if I reverse sort by size, do I want big R, capital R? I need to put S. No? Is that right? And then SR? Okay. All right. So I don't know what that is. Let me check this out. Posts. Okay, so this has a ton of HTML in it. But I think it's reasonable that somebody should be able... Oh, and this is all of the comments that were ever left. Yeah. That's why this is so much, because these are copies of comments and whatnot. And some of the stuff I think is actually over a period of years. This was one of the first articles I'd ever posted. And that, yeah, that's all expanded out HTML. That's 46 kilobytes. Okay, but this one, 32 kilobytes. And that one is just because that was a long, lots of code snippets. Yeah, so I actually think it's reasonable to say that regular text database field is not big enough. It ought to be medium text. But still, I do want to have some sort of limit to size on this sort of thing. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Let me get out of here. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so something's big. Probably over 32K, 64K, 128K, something like that. I probably want to reject it unless it's a paid user. So things that are encrypted and encoded, it's going to increase the size, so 24K would become about 32K or so. So I think that's still actually quite fair. Right, so that all looks good. But what we don't have... Okay, let me just see if this works as is. I also... Oops. Should have a post for this as well. So if we create an item, and then let's say that the data say UUID becomes item ID, something like this, rec.body data, let's say. So kind of two rules. It would need to have data at all. Oh, and then we need an update as well, which I don't think I'm going to get to tonight. But that should be pretty simple once we get to it. So on login, the user will always have its own team. The user will always have its own project. So we can get the dummy data. Well, dummy is instead of calling data, just because the front end is already looking for a thing called dummy. Should be encrypted by browser. All right, let's go make sure that this is still up. Looks like it is. So if this signs in, oh no, something went wrong. How could it be? Everything had been going so well. Failing row contains null, whatever. Insert into projects. Well, that's unexpected. Name UUID. Null. Huh. Insert into projects. Name UUID. Or no, name UUID. Let me go see if I can figure out what that's about. Let's go look here. Insert into projects. So projects, create project, user. Create project. User.uuid. That can't be possible. Okay, if user. Alright, let's do this. Console.info, no, not info, log, debug, user. Don't we already have this here somewhere? Don't we have a debug user? No? No debug user? Okay. Well, we'll just do it. Okay. Sign in. No token, something went wrong. Let's see, user. No. Interesting. It's that darn full outer join, I bet. Yeah, I don't want a full outer join. I think I want Postgres write join. Right outer join. Let's try this. Let's try right outer join. Full. I don't want full. I just want the null to happen to show up. No, I actually don't want that. Okay, I probably need to restructure the query. Maybe it actually should be a left join. So this is a right outer join. So I want to join on, but have no where clause. Can I do just an inner join? Let's try this. What if I swap this over to an inner join? Because I'm not actually saying, yeah, that was my mistake. Because I'm not actually saying it can't match anything. I'm just saying I want to join it on these things. This is what I want. I do not want this. Select star from film reviews. I want this. Right join. Okay, no, I do want right join. So let's go back. Right outer join. Is that right? I want the title. Select review and title from films. Right join film reviews. On film reviews, film ID, review. Select review. Oh, that's right. Okay, let's give this a try. I knew that full outer was wrong, just looking at it. Yeah, I don't want... Maybe I need to reverse it. Maybe what I'm actually trying to say is... Let me just see what happens if I change it to an inner join. Okay, no, still something went wrong. Created a user which can't be found. Right, okay. That makes sense. That's the inner join problem. Now if I go back to right outer join now, and I refresh, then this probably actually will work because now the user exists. No? Still nothing? What went wrong this time? All right, I want to flip-flop this. So I have films, which is I have... Okay, users is what I want to right join on. So I want to right join on that select. I think I just need to invert what I'm doing the right join on. From, no. How do I make this go the opposite way that it's going? Left outer join? Okay, right outer join, full outer join, right join, left out. Oh, left outer join. Is that what I want? Okay, maybe I want left outer join. I don't know my SQL. This is probably something I'm going to need to sleep on. Left. Okay, left outer join. That's what I want. Yes. Yes. This is what I want. It's okay for those to be null. Okay. Yeah! Congrats, I win. I got a token. To do, not authorized. Sweet. That's great. Okay. So why do I not have a rec.user? That's the next question. Okay, so that one was wrong already. So let me stash this real quick. Let's see if I can just fix that. I want left outer join. Full outer, left outer join. Oh no. What have I done? Let's see. They're exactly the same. Why in the world is that a conflict? They're literally the same. Oh, semicolon. Okay. Okay, so let me do this. Let's do npx connects roll back, roll forward. All right, looking good. All right, let's refresh, sign in, new user. Ha, and I win. But I get a not authorized. Why? Particularly why when user, debug, user's right there. Okay, so what did I do wrong? Let's see, lib auth. Let's see, where's login? We got claims right here. Looks great. Okay. So if that's looking good, let's see. Where's the verify at? Do a verify. Verify goes on here. Before that. Alright, cool. So verify's right there. Let's go to lib middleware here. User param. User params user. rec.user, right? Console.log. Debug. Got JWS. Fail. Okay, let's see what this was all about. I got my token. Yeah, it's right there. Everything's looking great. What's going on? All right, so how are we getting a to-do not authorized here? That's what I want to know. How's that happening? How's it happening? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? I don't know. Let's look more closely with our eyes. To do, not authorized. Vim app.js. To do. Okay. User.sub. Maybe we don't have user.sub. Maybe that's why. That could be very, very why. Where was I at with my lib auth? And then my claims. Where are my claims at? Sub. User dot UUID. User dot UUID. Yeah. Okay. Fix up. User.id, user.uuid. Huh. Okay, so I suspect if I run this again, we should get all happy. Yep, congrats, you win. And then we don't need all. Okay, so the debug doesn't fail. And not only that, but my dummy comes back with nothing. Excellent. Okay, so now let's see if I can take this all and do fetch slash API dummy, doing method post, I think. Oh, hello, welcome. I'm getting a little tired, and I'm gonna probably, once I get this done here, may very well leave soon. But go ahead, tell me where you're from, what you're up to, what brings you to the channel tonight. Authorization. Okay, bearer. There we go. Body JSON.stringify, and then we'll do data Yahoo. Just add some drool to Yahoo there. All right, and then content type application JSON. I think this is it right here. Internal server error. Cool, let's see what that's about. Cannot read property data of undefined. All right, let's take a look at 76 then. 76. rec.body.data. Really? Well, let's see what it thinks it sent. What do you think you sent? Content type application JSON. Well, I have a thought about this, which might explain it, which is that I don't think I actually did app.use. Well, let me go back. Okay, server.use API express.body parser .json? No? Something like that? Let's see. No. Alrighty. Require body parser .json. Interesting. Now let's see if this works. Oh, that was, I didn't need to reboot for that. Let's see if I still got this though. Okay. Looks like that could work. There we are. So let's go ahead and do the sign in here and take a look at the dummy. Yes. Rock on. Triumph. This is quite the triumph. Oh, I can hardly believe it. But it seems that it works, so I'm going to believe it. I'm gonna do the GameCube tomorrow. Numero uno priority. I need to get to bed right now. This is great. Cool. I feel like that's pretty decent too. Okay, so this is whip. What did we do here? We feature add ability to save arbitrary data. Related to user. Cool. One thing about that though, needs a strong to do. Don't forget to update auth 3000 from GitHub branch. Okay. So with all that out of the way, I now actually understand the difference between the different SQL joins. I'm actually going to maybe put that in my little SQL cheat sheet for later. Planning Bliss API. All right. So, yeah, whatever. Cool. Getting there. Man. That's crazy. That's crazy how little I ended up getting done after all of that. But I think the time invested in learning Connects is good. I definitely don't think that I need an ORM yet. I think I should invest the time to convert things over to transactions. I'm glad I took the time to get the first bit of user separation, meaning that if the user email address changes, this is still going to work. And that, I think, is of the utmost importance in developing a user system, as a user system that has multiple identifiers. So I think that's good. And I did spend a bit too much time on figuring out what the relationship should look like between the users and the items, because ultimately right now that's all I've got. But I know that in the future I'm going to want to have a kind of a projects and teams style of view, not just for this, but for other projects as well. And I've been wanting, I don't think that I've done a great job of demonstrating the viability of this particular model, but I think it's very similar to what you see with Google Drive and with other permission models, where there's a fairly flat system, and you basically layer exceptions on top of it. And I think I paved the way to be able to do that in a fairly simple way, all things considered. And there are some conventions that I'm kind of on the fence about in terms of repeating the user ID across the board. So the user ID is the team ID, is the membership ID, is the project ID, etc. But overall, I think that's a good way to go. I'm glad I learned about the left outer join. It's kind of silly to have that full outer join, because I knew just looking at the picture, obviously that wasn't what I wanted. But I didn't. I actually, before, I always thought left inner, right outer. I didn't realize left outer was a thing, but I'm glad I do now. Yeah. So all in all, it's been a good day. Got a lot done. Like if you liked, you get more of what you like. Hit the bell to subscribe if you want to watch more live videos. And also, I'm going to get back to the tutorial videos at some point. I think there's the trappings of a tutorial video for Postgres in here. Postgres and Connects in particular. Well, Postgres setup and Postgres Connects. I think both of those could be done. Anyway, I need to get some sleep. But it's been a fun day, exciting day. Thanks for joining in with me, those of you who join in with me at the various occasions. Yeah. Anyway, you have a great one. Good night. Adios.